Hello, students. So today we will be talking about the value-added method of national income. Before proceeding any further, let's understand the rationality behind this value-added method. To make it more comfortable and more understandable, let's use the whiteboard. And here we go. So the point is, as we have read in the previous chapters, when we talk about value-added method, we know that in an economy, the production keeps on going. And because of this production, the incomes are generated. And when these incomes are generated, these are spent, and hence the expenditure happens. And this process keeps on going. That's why we say there is a circular flow of income in the economy. And because of these different methods, production method, income method, and expenditure method, we have three methods of calculating national income. And the very first method is called product method or production method or value added method. So let's have a quick look on what is it and why it so happens. When we say value added method, value added method, let's understand what is this phenomenon and what does this give us. Now, value added method means whenever there is any production happening in the economy, why production happens? Because human beings need the goods and services to be produced for the satisfaction of their wants. So when the production happens, production never happens in one go. In a sense, there are several stages of getting something produced in an economy. So the things do pass through various stages. Simple, take an example. Like wood is first cut and lumbered from the forests, then it is given a shape of planks, then it is further added value in terms of the furniture, and then finally it goes to the consumer. So at every stage, there is some value addition which is happening in the economy. Right. So first, let's understand the numerical aspect of value-added method, and then we'll talk about the other aspects. Value-added method gives us GVA at MP. What is GVA? G is gross value added. Gross means the value added in totality in the economy. And when I say totality, it means it includes all the sectors, the primary sector, the secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. Wherever the value addition happens, all together it is taken up to find the value of GVA. So what is GVA equal to? GVA is equal to GVO at MP minus IC. This is my first step of calculation. And then the second step is NNP at FC is to be calculated. Why? Because this is the symbol of national income. And how do we calculate NNP at FC? From GVA at MP. Mind you, GVA at MP is nothing but GDP at MP. Right. So after we get GVA at MP from this first equation, we need to convert GDP at MP into NNP at FC. Let us recall the three equations which we have already read in the previous chapters. The first is gross is equal to net plus depreciation. So gross is equal to net plus depreciation. Second equation was domestic, add NFIA to get national. Third was factor cost, add NIT to get market price. So when I have G with me, I need to convert into N, what do I do? I'll subtract depreciation here from. And now this becomes NDPFC. Domestic needs to be converted into national. Hence, what would I do? Domestic, add NFIA. And then MP minus NIT will make it FC. Hence, this is my second equation from numerical point of view. Just try and understand. When I talk about the Nash value added method, these two equations do the needful for me altogether. GDP at MP is equal to GVO at MP minus IC, and NNP at FC will be taken from GDP at MP by doing certain calculations of addition and subtraction of the other variables. And that's it. Now let's talk about the rationality behind what is GVO, what is GVA. Let me give you a simple example for the same to make you understand. The GVO stands for value of output. GVO is the output of any economy. And GVA is the value addition which has happened in the economy. Now take a simple example. Right. For example, a farmer produces wheat and gives it to a miller. Miller converts the wheat into wheat flour and that he gives to a baker. And the baker makes the biscuits and he gives the same to consumer. Right. So this is a chain which goes through several stages. Farmer has produced wheat. Miller has produced the flour. And the baker has produced the biscuits, which become my final product later on. Now, let's understand. We have already read in the previous chapter that we never ever include the intermediate things, but we always take the final things in consideration while calculating the national income. Right. So we would not be taking wheat, we would not be taking the value of wheat of flour, right? We would only be taking the value of biscuit in this whole process. And if we take at all the value of wheat, the value of flour, it means it will lead to the problem of double counting. That also would be discussed little later. Now, my point is, I was giving you an example that what is GVO? The value of output. Output means whatever has been produced by any business entity is his output. So, flour is the output of miller. Wheat is the output of farmer. The biscuits are the output of baker. But the point is, we never take all these outputs. We have to subtract the IC therefrom. Means here, if I'm talking about biscuit as my final product. So for biscuit, whatever has been taken from the market to make the biscuits become the IC. IC means I took probably the wheat, I took the services of the miller to make it wheat flour, some sugar would be added, some cashews would be added to make it a packet of biscuit. So biscuit is the output and the ingredients which are taken from the market to make this happen, that becomes your IC. So what every person, every business unit has added for the formation of biscuit becomes the value addition at different level. Now, let's understand these equations once again. So if I want to find out the value added in the economy, I will have to check what's the value of output. And out of that value of output, I have to subtract the purchases to make that GVA. For example, a person sells lemonade and he sells the lemonade for say 20 rupees per glass. So 20 rupees is the worth of the output, but what is the value addition done by the person who is selling the lemonade? So for making that glass of lemonade, he would have procured the sugar from the market, he would have procured the lemon from the market, maybe a pinch of salt from the market. So whatever are the ingredients are IC, that would be subtracted. The IC means all happens what all is required to make that good, that is the IC. So IC is subtracted from the value of output just to understand what is the value of GVA, the gross value added, and that is what is required, and this is what this method gives us. And second stage is very simple, that we have learned in the third subpart of this chapter, which simply deals with the conversions of there are 8 income aggregates, and all those 8 income aggregates can be converted into each other using these 3 equations, as has already been introduced previously. So this way, barely by these 2 steps, we have the value of national income calculated for value added method. Now, there is again one point that sometimes we are not given GVO directly and we are given the sales. In that case, we have to do it in working notes that GVO, the value of output is sales add change in stock. So, this is the value of GVO. It's very easy to understand that whatever value of the output has been created, it's either sold in the market or is there yet in stock. So GVO is this, putting the value of GVO from here to here, we get GVA, and when we get GVA, that needs be converted into NNP at FC. Mind you, the other name of GVA it is GDP at MP. So this is how we carry on with the numerical aspect of value added method. Right. So the point is, the vital aspect of this method is the avoidance of double counting. Why? Because we are merely adding the value added by each stage. Now, let's take this example once again. When the goods pass from farmer to the miller, miller to the baker, and from baker to the final consumer. Say the farmer sold the goods, means the wheat, worth 500 to the miller. Miller sold the same to the baker at rupees 800, and the baker made the biscuits and then he sold the biscuits of worth rupees 1200 to the consumer. So what's the value of output? The value of output is 1200, right? If we, in this example, try to understand what's the value of output, what's the IC, and what is value added, which is required. So let's see. If I am talking about farmer at this stage, miller at this stage, and baker at this stage. So what happens? Farmer created wheat worth rupees 500. There was no IC. So what is the value added by him? That is value of output minus IC. So we subtract this and we get to have 500. Because farmer sold the things to miller and miller created the worth of 700. But for creating this worth of wheat flour of 700, he had to have the wheat from the farmer of rupees 500. Hence, the value added by him would be 200. Sorry, in the previous example, I had 800. So, the value added at this stage becomes 300. Then, The miller sold his output to baker. So that becomes the baker's intermediate cost. But what did he make? He made the biscuits worth rupees 1200. Right. So what is the value added by the baker? That is 1200 minus 800. That gives you 400. So this method altogether tells us that there are two solutions to avoid the problem of double counting. Either we go for the final value, and the final value of output is this, or we go for addition of the value addition at all the stages. So that is 500 plus 3, 800 plus 400, that is equal to 1200. So whatever way you do, there are two solutions, two remedies to the problem of double counting. One is either take only the value added at all the stages, that is 500 plus 300 plus 400 to make it 1200, or you just take the value of output at the final stage, that is the value of final good. Here we are not at all taking any values of intermediate goods. I hope this is clear to you with this numerical example. Let's now proceed further to talk about certain precautions related to the value added method. And first and foremost precaution related to the value added method is we would always take the final goods. The intermediate goods are not taken. Intermediate goods would never be taken in the calculation. Second precaution is we go for the imputed value of goods that is taken into calculation, but imputed services are never ever taken. Imputed services like the services of the owner. For example, I teach my son at home, a doctor treats his own son or daughter at home. Right. I cook food at my home. So for all those things where the monetization is not happening and the things are not brought into picture, so those are called the imputed services that do not become a part of national income accounting, and that's a flaw. Right. But the value which is created, like if a farmer produces the wheat, so the worth of wheat would always be taken into account. The goods taken and produced for charity would never be a part of national income. Would never be a part of national income because that is non-monetized. Monetization would not happen. We do have another thing like the value or the sale purchase of second-hand goods would never ever be a part of calculation of national income. So second-hand goods are not included, but there is one point of commission. The commission involved in the sale purchase of goods and services would definitely be a part of national income calculation because that's on account of the fresh services. Why do we not include the second hand goods? Because these have already been included in the year they were made before. So with this, we come to the closure of this chapter. All the doubts are welcome. Have a great day.